Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
Today, we're diving into the, well, incredibly somber details surrounding Air India Flight AI-171.
A terrible tragedy, yes.
It's profoundly impacted aviation safety and just countless lives. So our mission with this deep dive is, to really distill the essential facts from the sources you've provided.
Hmm.
We want to understand the timeline, the immense human cost, the immediate response, and of course, the ongoing investigation into what caused this devastating crash.
What stands out immediately, I think, is not just the incident itself, but how swiftly, how tragically the events unfolded.
Right.
And that led to this really extensive global response,
Mhm.
understanding that precise sequence is just paramount in these kinds of investigations.
And what's immediately striking, and tragically so, is just how brief the flight path of AI-171 actually was.
Extremely brief.
So this was Air India Flight AI-171, a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, tail number VTA&B.
Yep, the Dreamliner.
It departed Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. That was on June 12th, 2025, at 13:38 IST, Indian Standard Time,
Okay.
bound for London Gatwick. But the critical seconds came almost, well, immediately.
Right after takeoff.
Yeah, the aircraft lost altitude moments after takeoff. We're talking approximately 50 seconds into the flight.
Just 50 seconds.
At an altitude of only around 625 feet.
Very low.
And it then crashed into the hostel block of BJ Medical College in the Megani Nagar neighborhood.
Into a building. Yeah.
Our sources indicate the pilots did issue a mayday call just before all communication dropped.
Ah, so they had a moment to signal distress.
Seems like it, but at
Yeah.
50 seconds, 625 feet, I mean, that's an incredibly short critical window.
It really is.
From an aviation perspective, what does that immediate rapidity of descent tell you? What kind of failure are we likely looking at?
Exactly. That 50-second window is, well, it's almost unprecedented for such a catastrophic failure so early.
Yeah.
Right after wheels up, basically. It immediately shifts the investigation's focus, perhaps away from certain types of human error during a complex phase.
Right, like takeoff is busy, but
But this quick, it points much more squarely onto systems, mechanical integrity,
so like engines, controls.
potentially major systems.
Mhm.
It makes you wonder, did the aircraft even allow the pilots any real chance to react or recover in that incredibly brief time?
A terrifying thought. And beyond the technical side, the aircraft itself, the true weight of this is, of course, the human cost.
Absolutely devastating.
On board, there were 230 passengers and 12 crew members.
Okay.
Tragically, 241 of the 242 people on board were killed.
Oh, wow. Just one survivor from the plane.
Yes, one sole survivor, British Indian Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, who somehow managed to escape with injuries.
Incredible.
But the devastation wasn't just on the plane. The crash into the college hostel on the ground.
Yes.
That killed at least 38 people
Oh, my goodness.
and injured over 60 more within the building just from the impact.
So the total loss of life is much higher.
Much higher. It brings the overall total fatalities to above 279 people. That detail about the lone survivor, Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, it's just astounding, isn't it?
It really is. Truly remarkable and also, tragic in its singularity.
Yeah.
When you look at the sheer scale of the impact, the ground fatalities,
Yeah.
everyone else on board, how does that happen?
Exactly. What do the sources suggest about the conditions that could even allow for one survivor in that kind of devastation?
Well, in crashes of this severity, the forces involved are usually so immense, survival is, frankly, almost impossible.
Right.
His escape might offer a unique data point. Maybe something about the aircraft's structural breakup or the immediate dynamics of the impact right where he was.
I see. Like how the fuselage failed.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Details investigators will scrutinize intensely. It's a rare and very poignant piece of this tragic puzzle.
And in the immediate aftermath, when something like this happens, the world's attention turns straight to the emergency response
Of course.
and the hunt for answers.
Yeah.
Emergency teams mobilized very swiftly. We're talking airport services, India's NDRF, the National Disaster Response Force,
Right, the NDR.
police, firefighters, medical staff, even the Indian Army, all rushing to the site to clear wreckage, treat the injured.
Massive effort.
And crucially, authorities recovered both black boxes, the flight data recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder very quickly.
That's key. Very important for the investigation.
Yeah. And early indications, based on the evidence found so far, seem to point towards dual engine failure.
Both engines. Wow.
That the aircraft was struggling to gain altitude before it just dropped.
Which fits the short time frame, the low altitude.
Exactly. So a joint probe was launched immediately.
Yeah.
You've got India's DGCA, the Aviation Authority, and their AAIB, the Accident Investigation Bureau,
Standard procedure.
working alongside international partners. Boeing, naturally, and representatives from the US and the UK.
That international cooperation is absolutely standard, as you say, but particularly critical here.
Why particularly here?
Well, because it's the first fatal hull loss of this aircraft type, the 787. It's a modern aircraft, so understanding what happened has global implications.
Makes sense. And Air India, now led by Tata Group, they also acted immediately. Support helplines were set up, relief flights for victims' families,
Important support.
and significant financial aid offered, including 1 crore rupees per deceased passenger from Tata.
That's a substantial commitment.
And the airline also undertook emergency fleet-wide inspections of its other Boeing 787.
A necessary precaution.
As you said, this marks a very somber milestone, the first fatal hull loss involving a Boeing 787.
It does. And that swift recovery of the black boxes you mentioned, that's paramount.
Yeah.
They hold the definitive digital record, the roadmap for figuring out exactly what happened in those final moments.
Yeah. But, behind every statistic, every technical report, there are these incredibly powerful human stories.
Always. That's the real tragedy.
Among those lost was Captain Sumit Sabharwal, a veteran pilot.
Ah, the captain.
Colleagues remembered him as remarkably calm, even heroic. And there are claims, that his actions in those desperate final seconds might have consciously diverted the aircraft
Diverted it.
away from more densely populated areas nearby, a decision that, if true, could have saved even more lives on the ground.
Wow. Even in that situation, that's quite something.
A testament to his dedication, really. Our sources also describe just harrowing scenes on the ground, families, students escaping in panic from the college building.
I could only imagine.
Some students reportedly even jumped from the building to escape the impact and fire.
Just terrible.
And unsurprisingly, this crash has, deeply shaken public trust in aviation safety across India.
Understandably so.
Nearby airport operations were also significantly disrupted for some time.
And stepping back, if we consider the broader context, the psychological impact, the societal impact, it extends far beyond just the crash site itself, doesn't it? It affects national confidence in aviation. It challenges community resilience. When something so fundamental to modern life, like air travel, is hit by tragedy,
Yeah.
it really underscores how deeply connected it is to our collective sense of security.
That's a really good point. So, looking ahead, what does this all mean for the days, weeks, months to come? The investigation is ongoing.
Yes, a long process ahead.
The detailed investigation, looking at the flight data, the cockpit voice recorders, that's expected to take about 3 months, according to sources.
Seems reasonable for a complex case like this.
And the probe will primarily focus on, what we discussed, the engine systems, the control configurations, any pre-flight anomalies, anything that might have contributed.
Checking maintenance logs, systems history.
Exactly. And then, based on the findings, regulatory reviews will happen. DGCA, Boeing, Air India, they'll all be looking to enhance safety protocol.
As they should. Lessons need to be learned.
And on the human side, support and compensation efforts are continuing. Families are being assisted, the identified victims are being honored, and there are already plans in motion for rebuilding the campus area.
Good to hear about the support.
Our sources consistently note this remains one of India's most devastating air crashes in decades.
A major, major incident.
So how will the findings, when they eventually come out, how will they not only provide answers for the families,
Which is so important.
crucial, but also contribute to a safer future for air travel globally, especially, as you mentioned, concerning newer aircraft types like the 787?
Well, the lessons learned from tragedies like this, however painful, are absolutely critical for preventing future incidents.
Right.
Every single detail uncovered about why this specific Boeing 787 was lost. It will directly inform future design considerations, maintenance protocols, pilot training, operational procedures, not just for this airline, but worldwide.
So it feeds back into the whole system.
Exactly. It's a long, often painstaking process, analyzing the data, simulating scenarios, implementing changes. But the insights gained will ripple through the entire aviation industry. The ultimate goal is always to make air travel safer for everyone based on these hard-learned lessons.
This deep dive into Air India Flight AI 171 It's been a stark reminder, hasn't it, of the immense human toll, but also the complex systems involved in keeping us safe in the air.
It really has, a complex interplay of technology and human factors.
So, as this long process of investigation and recovery continues, here's something maybe for you, our listener, to consider. What unseen factors, perhaps beyond just mechanical failure, might contribute to the resilience or maybe the vulnerability of our complex global systems, whether that's in the air or even on the ground? How do these systems cope or fail when faced with sudden catastrophic events?